Cybercrime, excuse me. Cybercrime is a top priority for the FBI. There's really not one of our programs we investigate that cybercrime doesn't touch. And it's not a problem not just for the FBI, but for local police, sheriffs, district attorneys. All of them have to encounter on a daily basis cybercrime that the FBI may not have the resources to address. One thing that we're particularly concerned about is what people refer to as the dark market or the dark web or the dark net. And what these are illicit marketplaces where people can deal in illicit goods and services with vendors. And they can do so using software that gives them some measure of anonymity, that disguises their identity to a limited degree. And it's something we're very concerned with because of the proliferation of crime we see on some of these sites.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, obviously you guys can't get into how you guys track, but talk about, that does produce a challenge for you guys because when they're talking about the dark web and they're trying to be anonymous, and there's never a complete anonymity, but it presents a challenge for you guys as far as tracking these guys and trying to find money trails and talk about a little bit. Can you talk about the challenges that presents to any sort of law enforcement?
Sure. Basically there is a whole side of the web and the internet that most of us will never encounter in our day-to-day browsing online, and to access what people call the dark web, you download specialized software on your computer, and the way the software works is it bounces traffic from server to server, perhaps in different countries. So it might bounce your traffic from a server in Russia to a server in Mexico to a server in France, and the traffic is encrypted. And so that does give some measure of anonymity to people using it, and does make some of it difficult to track. A lot of the transactions are conducted using digital currency such as Bitcoin, as opposed to traditional credit cards or cash or check. And so all these things combined do give criminals some tools to hide their actions. However, the FBI, our agents, our analysts, our computer scientists, are using our whole range of technological capabilities, traditional law enforcement abilities to track down the people running these illicit networks. Because we have to work together really with our state and local and federal counterparts to take down these networks that are selling these illicit goods or services.
And it's tough because I've seen a report on it. You can find almost anything on these sites. Can you not? It's not just drugs. There's a whole lot of stuff that you guys are having to track on here. There's not much you can't find, correct?
The FBI, we've seen everything from, of course, drug trafficking to the distribution of child pornography to even some human trafficking, to weapons, to stolen credit card information is often found on some of these dark sites. And often these dark sites are used for extortion, for different schemes to extort just law-abiding citizens using different ransom schemes.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about it? I know so again, just stop me if you can't get into specifics.
Sure.
But, you guys have a team here and you've been in this market. Can you talk at all about, is this a problem everywhere, or are there certain areas, maybe not exactly, there are certain parts of the state, is it pretty common? Is it a big problem, or are you guys seeing it that it's an issue, but it's not this huge, overbearing thing that we... Can you talk about that?
Cybercrime in general, as I've said, is a top priority for the FBI. Every one of our field offices has a cyber squad, a cyber task force, and we work very closely with 19 federal partners, as well as our state and local partners to combat this threat. We're seeing more and more this will be one of the major crime vectors of the next generation, and we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, not get behind it. So it can happen anywhere, whether it's Savannah, Atlanta, New York. Cybercrime can happen everywhere because a lot of the people who run these marketplaces or commit these crimes online, they can do it from anywhere. As long as they have an internet connection, they can run these marketplaces or commit these crimes. So no place is immune.
Right. And talk about, because we had a guy that used to deal and talk with counselors, and they're like, well, sometimes I'll say, oh, well, it's almost impossible to stop. That's not necessarily true. You guys are doing good work. I remember 2013 with the Silk Road, that was like a big bust. So these people that believe oh, you're never going to get caught and you can do it with complete anonymity, FBI has had success in the past, and it's not like you guys have just stopped focusing on that. There's been, talk a little bit about the success that's been in the past by the FBI, and that doesn't mean that you're safe if if you're a parent and have a kid that's doing this, that's the worry. The young kids get on these sites and do this. You're not completely anonymous, even if you think you are.
You know, what I would say is, for over a century, the FBI has stood shoulder to shoulder with state and local law enforcement to combat a whole host of threats, whether it's transnational organized crime, whether it's gangs, bank robberies, terrorism, public corruption. And in the century we've been doing this, crime and criminals have evolved. And of course, criminals now are using techniques that the FBI, an FBI agent in my position 50 years ago would never have even envisioned. And so part of our job is to constantly evolve and adapt to combat the threat posed by criminals, especially in the cyber arena. It is difficult, but we've had many successes. Our cyber division in the past few years has dismantled some of these criminal networks and marketplaces and infiltrated some of these marketplaces. So it can be done, and we can do it, and we're working very hard with all of our partners to combat this threat.
I know you can't give us big numbers, but is it difficult for you guys to track numbers because everyone's got you have this kind of anonymity about it, and so it's hard to say. I saw they were reading an article. It's really hard to say, like, okay, we've had, there's this many people using the dark net, and there's this many purchases on the dark net. That's almost impossible to do considering how it's kind of run. Is that accurate?
That's not a question I'm really, I don't have the information with me right now of sort of the numbers or how we track, and in general, remember, the FBI, we don't track, and we're not interested in lawful, constitutionally protected activity. So we're not tracking everyone using the dark net. We're not tracking innocent people. We're only tracking people who are using perhaps the dark web for nefarious means or to conduct criminal activity.
The last question I'll ask is, we obviously don't want to do a how-to, but a lot of times this is very easy to do. We don't need to go into steps of how to do it, but it's easy to do. And I think what we were looking at was parents of these teenagers that are, 15, 18, high school, they need to be aware of what their kids are doing. Because this is something that is easy to do. Mm-hmm. So what would be your message to the parents to watch your children, because everyone's got a cell phone, everyone's online, everyone's got social media accounts, and everyone's able to do this. So with the ease of it, what's the warning there?
It's a real challenge. Children today have access to things on the internet that children a decade or two ago just never did. They can interact with people they otherwise would never have been able to interact with. So, my advice to parents is just communicate with your children, make sure you're talking to them, make sure you understand what they're doing online, both whether it's on the dark web or just on the everyday internet. There's a lot of opportunities for people to take advantage of other people on the internet, and a lot of ways people can become victimized. And the younger someone is, sort of the less judgment they might have about that. So, as parents do in every realm, the more they communicate with their children, are aware of what they're doing, can talk to their kids about their activity, both online and not online, I think the better they can prevent their kids getting involved with something that they might later regret.
And as the FBI stands, would you say, the dark web was started for good reasons, kind of have people like human rights people that have human right, that's what I'm looking for, like violations, and they report that, or just keeping bank accounts safe. Would you say, though, that the dark net can be a very dangerous place? To get there, it can be a very dangerous area.
I would say the internet in general, like many other tools available to us, have no inherent good or evil. They're tools that people can use. And like any tool, a hammer, a knife, it can be used for productive means, it can be used for non-productive means, it can be used for criminal means. But there's nothing about a tool such as the internet by itself that is inherently evil or bad. It's more we're interested in people who are using these tools for nefarious means. And really, like every violation we work, from violent crime and gangs to terrorism to public corruption, we depend on people in the community coming forward, giving us a call, saying, hey, I've seen this. Maybe this is something you, the FBI, should take a look at. In the area of cybercrime or things that might be appearing on the dark market, dark web, are no different. We depend on people in the community, if they're on the dark web, to say, you know what, let me give the FBI a call. Maybe they don't know this activity is happening, but they should know. And we encourage anyone, if they become aware of something that they think is illegal or dangerous, to give us a call.